What is up, everyone? My name is Wrigley Willis with the Semi Average Podcast, back here again for today's Friday upload. As today, I was thinking about what we could talk about as it's one of the more informal days. We don't spend as much time on these Friday uploads, and with March knocking on the door, it's late February right now. March Madness is approaching soon. Now, we could talk about some of the greatest players in all of college basketball right now, some of the best teams, and with that, I kind of want to go into some of the sleeper teams come March Madness season. Now, I'm not saying these teams are Final Four teams, championship teams, really at all, except for maybe one. But they're teams that I think, you talk about the 11 seeds and the 5 seeds that take really big leaps and no one expects them to make it that far. Those are kind of the teams that I'm going to dive into today. And I really hope that you guys like my feedback and what I talk about. So let's get straight into it. And my first sleeper team come March is, granted that they get into the tournament because we're basing the seeding off of Andy Katz's most recent, um, mock March Madness bracket, which currently had the St. John's Red Storm out of the tournament. But I love this St. John's team. I love, old Big East teams. So, they were one of the first teams that came to mind. And I was thinking about teams that, could make a far run. But you look at this roster, they have Julian Champagny, who's the guy on Pittsburgh who's having a crazy year. He's his brother, and he's averaging 20 a game for St. John's right now. He's their leading scorer. But, you look past him, there's one player that everyone talks about from St. John's, and that's Posh Alexander, who's a really quick, athletic defensive guard. And that's what you like to see come tournament time. So if they, sneak in as an 11 or 12, and they play a big time school, you have that defensive guard that you can put on the other team's best playmaker that could, give you a shot when it comes tournament time. This St. John's team, they're not very good defensively. They score at a pretty high rate. They have Champagny, who's their main guy. Posh Alexander runs the one for them. And then they've got a combo of guards and forwards and wings that, are able to add in threes. Every once in a while have a nice drive to the basket. And they cut pretty well, in my opinion, as well. The big thing for them is defensively, they're not really anything. And that's why they're sitting where they're at 14-10, just outside the tournament. They're going to have to, if they want to make the tournament, they're going to have to win out probably the rest of the season and do something in the Big East tournament, which I could definitely see happening. I love this. They play fast. They play physical. They get to the rim. Their kickouts are amazing. Champagny and Posh Alexander are great at that. They get a lot of assists off of it, and I'm really excited for St. John's. My prediction for them is if they make the tournament, I think they'll upset whatever 5 or 6 seed they play, and then play the next 2 or 3 very competitively. I don't see them going very far, but when you're making your mock drafts, there's always 11 and 12 seeds that someone's going to win, right? It's March Madness. It happens. And I think St. John's is that team this year. Big culture. They play really physical. They got a lot of passion, and they're super fun to watch also. So that's my first team that I want, that I'm riding with come March Madness time, that I'll probably, if they get in, picked to beat the 5 or the 6 that they'll play, granted that they're an 11 or a 12. The next team, an old Big East team, this is St. Bonaventure, who is currently 12-3. They're first in the A10, obviously. And getting into why I think they'll be a great tournament team is they have a large committee of scorers. You look to the past couple of years, smaller school teams that make a run like Loyola Chicago, they had 5 or 6 guys that could hit that shot come crunch time, that could play good defense, that could switch, that could do all these kinds of things, pass the ball well, rebound well, run out in transition, all that. And I think St. Bonaventure just has a great group. They got Kyle Lofton as their starting point guard right now. He's averaging 15 and 5. He's definitely the main guy for them. He's, big physical guard who gets to the rim when he wants. Not the greatest shooter in the world, but when you look at the rest of their team, they got Jaron Holmes, who's shooting 46% from 3, Dominic Welch, who's shooting 41% from 3. They got a multitude of shooters that Lofton will be able to, hit in the corner, need be, in crunch time. Now, Cats currently has them as an 11 projected, which is that's exactly where I would put them, an 11 or a 10 maybe. They don't have that many big wins. They did beat, I think they beat Rutgers earlier in the year, I want to say. I'm going to check real quick. They have not played Rutgers. That's on me. But they have some pretty good wins. They beat VCU. They beat LaSalle. They beat Richmond. But yeah, cool team. St. Bonaventure's is. They beat Davidson twice, if that matters anything to all those Steph Curry lovers. They beat St. Joseph's twice. But yeah, St. Bonaventure's a really cool team. great committee of guys. They're a lot of seniors on the team, so it's poised for a lot of good leadership, knowing what to do in crunch time. So I'm rocking with St. Bonaventure heavy this year. I'm probably, obviously we don't know the true matchups yet, but just off the top of my dome, I see them as a Sweet 16 team. I think they're going to surprise a lot. They'll win 2 games and then eventually fall to the one or whoever they play in that Sweet 16 game. But I love St. Bonnie's this year. I shouldn't love them because I'm a Syracuse guy, and the Syracuse St. Bonaventure's rivalry is a big one that has taught me to like the Bonnies less than I should. But this year's team, I'm really excited for, and I could see them making a big impact come March. So be ready for the Bonaventure Bonnies. The next team I want to get into are the Yukon Huskies. Now, when you talk March Madness and Yukon, you're usually talking about the women's team, at least as of late. But I really, really dig this Yukon Huskies team. And pretty much the main reason for that is James Bouknight, who is one of my favorite players in the upcoming class. I've yet to do a prospect scouting video on him. I actually have a full mock draft coming out with a little collab that's coming soon with one of my fellow students here at Arizona State. And I think I have Bouknight going like 8th or 9th as a little bit of a teaser for when that comes. He's an elite scoring guard. He reminds you of Brad Beal a little bit, can score at any level, shoots efficiently, plays pretty good defense. He's quick and he's strong, but he's a freshman. Now we look into the other guys on UConn's team. They have RJ Cole, who's their point guard. He's been their main guy for them because Bouknight was injured for a little bit of the season. He's averaging 12 and 4, shooting pretty efficiently. He's pretty good defensively as well. But then you look at the rest of the UConn team. It's like, what do they not have? They don't really have that elite, or not elite big, but that staple big. But they have a committee this time. You got guys like Isaiah Whaley, Tyler Polley, who are great shot blockers, as well as, I already said Isaiah Whaley. He's almost averaging 3 blocks a game. It's pretty impressive. They just remind me of a good tournament team. They have that veteran defensive guard in RJ Cole that's a great passer, can get you a bucket when you need him to, as well as an elite scorer in James Bouknight. And you got combo forwards that you can swap out all over the place that are going to be able to rebound and defend. They like to get out in transition, and they're quite a good pressing team too, which in March Madness seems to come up quite a lot. So UConn is currently mocked as an 11, I believe. I'm going to check on my phone real quick. I have it written down. Yeah, they're mocked as an 11, according to Andy Katz. Not the greatest start to the season. They're 11-6, and they're 4th in the Big East right now. But they played most of their season without their best player, arguably, in James Bouknight, and they've been picking up as of late a lot of good wins. They had a really good loss. I know it's crazy to say good loss, but recently, who did they play exactly? They lost to Villanova by 8. Bouknight had a great game. He had 21. But they've beaten teams like Providence, Xavier, Georgetown, Butler, beaten Butler twice. They beat DePaul twice, beat Marquette. USC, they beat at the beginning of the year, which is an awesome, win for them. But and they lost. I know I've talked about this game before. My favorite game of the year watching all season was UConn Creighton, December 20th. Bouknight had 40. Creighton ended up winning as Zagorowski and co were able to pick up the W. But I love this UConn team. They're going to be an 11 seed. They might go higher now that Bouknight's back. They might get a couple more key wins. Let's look at their schedule. They have Seton Hall coming up, Marquette, Georgetown. If they win out, they could put themselves in position to be a 10 or a 9 maybe, which, depending on who you ask, might be better for where they predict March Madness time. But UConn, I'm not quite as high on as St. Bonaventure's, but I still think they could be a sneaky Sweet 16 team. They have the perfect build of your typical, the opposite effect of when we were talking about St. Bonaventure's, where they're, Loyola Chicago type, where they got so many guys that could hit the clutch shots. They could easily, 6 guys in double figures, if you will. UConn's very much more so. You got a couple guys that can score, a couple guys that can defend, a couple guys that are good in transition. You got athletes. It's a good mix of a lot of guys that are good at different things. And coming down to coaching, if you apply those correctly, you could take down a big time school who wasn't ready for a quick UConn team. So UConn I see as a Sweet 16 team. Hopefully I'm right come March Madness time because I'm pretty high on them. But UConn Huskies, I'm down with them. Now, the 4th team. Now they're we just talked about them. They're pretty coveted. They're not like a sleeper team, but there's just still a team that I see doing better than their expectations, if you will. The next 2 teams are like that. And that's the Creighton Blue Jays, who UConn lost to in that game. I'm a massive, massive, massive Marcus Zagorowski fan. I think he's awesome. Just, I don't see really the pro potential, but just like as a college guard, I'm like, if I were to build a team, if you will, I'd be like, I want Zagorowski at point guard. He can score, pretty good defender, great in transition, knows when to pass and where to pass. He shoots really efficiently. He's hit big shots for them all year. Creighton, he's their main guy, but they got a lot of guys behind him. They have 5 guys or 6 guys that are scoring in double figures right now. Denzel Mahoney, who's a great defender as well. Not the greatest three-point shooter. Damian Jefferson and Christian Bishop are 2 forwards that, grab a ton of rebounds for them, can score inside, can hit mid-range, and have shown the ability to hit the three as well. That's one thing with Creighton this year that I think is really going to help them is you look on their entire roster besides their starting center. Everyone can shoot, and everyone can shoot pretty efficiently. And I think that's going to help them come tournament time. They're currently mocked as a 5. So you're thinking, how are they a sleeper team? They're second in the Big East. They're 13th in the nation right now. My prediction is that Creighton is able to will it out into the Elite 8. That's not really the craziest thing to say. I just don't see them beating whoever the one is, Baylor, Gonzaga, Michigan, whoever they end up having to play if they make it to that point. But I really like Creighton's. I think a lot of people are going to be flying under the radar on them and have them lose to a 12 seed in the first round. I think Creighton's going to be very, very good, and they're going to surprise a lot of teams. They're not the crazy, like the most flashy team. I think that's why they don't get a lot of press, but they get the job done. They play good sit-down defense, and they've proven that they can win the close games, i.e. UConn. So Creighton is my 4th team, projecting an Elite 8 appearance for them. They'll be a 5 seed, 4 seed. So good luck to the Blue Jays. I'm riding high on them. Now, my last squad to talk about, I have been riding high on the entire season. Beginning of the year, I said they're going to be a Final Four team, without a doubt. And that is the Illinois Fighting Illinois, whatever it is. Crazy Chicago people. But Illinois has my favorite player in college basketball right now. I know I just said Zagorowski's one of my favorite players, but Ayo Dosunmu, just watching college basketball, not taking in, where I think they'll end up being as pros. Ayo Dosunmu is that man. Big, physical, strong guard, gets to his spots, can hit the mid-range, has struggled to hit the three, but when you look at his percentage, it's like you would never have guessed that he shot 40% from 3. He's averaging 21, 6, and 5, and he's a player of the year candidate. He plays the entire game for Illinois pretty much, and he is an elite, you think of March Madness and the characters and faces that hit the big shots, that are playing good defense, diving for loose balls. That's Ayo Dosunmu. He's the perfect March Madness player, in my opinion. Some other guys on the roster, obviously Kofi Cockburn hasn't had the greatest season or we projected him to be, at least in terms of pro potential. He's averaging 17, 10, and 1.5, which is great. But I think he's, another tournament guy where you talk about big rebounds and big defensive stops, big guys that, take away space from, the teams with elite guards. I think Kofi Cockburn's that guy. He's going to be a great rim protector for them. And by the way, Dosunmu and Cockburn's pick and roll is amazing to watch. If only that, only if a team could draft both of them together, maybe that would be better. But then you look into some of the other guys in this roster. Adam Miller, who's a 5-star, has not been as good as we thought he was going to be coming into the season. I thought he was going to be, their second scoring option, dropping 15 a game. He's only averaging 8, struggling a little bit from the field. He's only shooting 36%. But he's when you look at him, I was big on him in high school coming out. I wanted Syracuse to get him so bad. But he has that confidence that you love to see out of a freshman. Where in the tournament, if he hits 1-3, it's going to be raindrops the rest of the game. And I really believe in that. So in my opinion, Illinois', Big Ten teams always do well in the tournament. They're tough and physical. They have their guy that can get them a bucket at any point in the game in Ayo Dosunmu. They got great role players. We didn't talk about Trent Frazier or Andre Cubello either. And that weird foreign forward that they have that's an absolute sniper. Oh, here it is right there. Give me a minute. Bejanishvili. Good tournament player. And I really just think their roster's built for March Madness. They're currently mocked as a 2 seed. So you're like, how is this a shocker? Well, it's because I think Illinois is going to make it to the national championship game. Now, granted, they'll have to play one of Gonzaga or Baylor. And I think they beat one of them. I don't know. Gonzaga's obviously the favorite this year, especially for me. I know for damn sure I'm picking them to win it all. But Illinois seems like a big momentum team. They're very well coached. They got great players at every position. They all do their job. Big Ten team. And I got the Illinois making a run at the championship game and being a sleeper team. So that's going to do it for today's Friday upload. Wanted to keep it short and sweet. I've kind of been stretching out the Friday uploads a little bit longer than what I mean to, but just as a quick recap, if you will, I've got St. John's, St. Bonaventures, Yukon, Creighton, and Illinois as my 5 teams to bet on or take far to pick upsets for it come March Madness time. So that is going to do it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Wrigley Willis with the Semi Average Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment if you would disagree or you think another team might be more poised than one of these 5. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.